child of Cameroon. To the elder who has served so long, your chapter's written, your story strong. Find your ease now in honor and grace. Pass the torch to a younger face. Let Cameroon remember you, not for holding on, but letting through.
You're welcome back, folks. You're tuned to the JMA Connections, and of course, this is still the 20th of November. This is Thursday, the 20th of November, 2025, and of course, we are right now on the late edition. So, in this late edition, we're going to be looking at some very interesting tool that is at the disposal of people who are seeking to overthrow a tyranny, who are seeking to overthrow a genocidal regime, who are seeking to overthrow a sit-tight emperor who has decided that being president or being whatever is his personal birthright. So this is, this particular slot, this few minutes are dedicated to that. You know, one very important approach in dealing with a system like this one is choking them economically. And you know that this is what the people of the southern Cameroons have done this far with very good effect. You know, the Monday ghost towns coupled with the intermittent prolonged lockdowns and all of this have always had a very serious dent on the economic performance of Cameroon, because generally you just need to understand what one day of ghost towns means in terms of cost. Banking transactions that do not take place cause the government to lose a lot of money in terms of VATs. That's a value added tax, because every single transaction you do in the bank attracts a tax. That is money going to the state. Now, filling stations are generally shut down on such days. You know, 1 liter of petrol that you buy, 1 liter of petrol has taxes on it of almost 500 CFA francs, 1 liter of petrol. I'm breaking this economy down because a lot of people usually think that that thing is a waste of time. It really doesn't have any impact on the government revenue. It affects but the local population. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. All the stores that are open, all the shops are open, all the transactions that you carry out on a single day, you are paying taxes to the government. You are paying a lot of taxes. People see taxes simply to mean when the people from the tax department come and stand in front of your store and say, "We will seal you because you have not paid either council tax or the global tax or the what they call the business license patent and all of those things." No, that's not just it. That one is just a fraction. The real taxes that are paid, the VAT alone contributes several hundred billions to the state budget of Cameroon. So one day of depriving that government not to have these resources, in a whole territory, and the territory of the southern Cameroons is just so big, and the effects are already being felt. The effects have been felt over the years. You have seen that country has been borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing until they can borrow no more. Things got worse. You see, just a few days that the Douala seaport was shut down, that all the logistic companies packed their trucks, they were not moving, that goods were not coming down south from the northern regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Goods were not leaving the southern Cameroons into La République du Cameroon. You see, the government was rampant in sending out divisional officers, chiefs, mayors, sending out parliamentarians, all sorts of people who usually will sit but in their offices and be carrying their shoulders and waiting for people to come and see them and negotiate. They were all on the streets. You will be surprised that even in some places, even state councils whose business is not on the streets were out there in the markets begging people to open their stores, begging people to open their shops, begging people not to shut down. You know why? because the Cameroon government is already literally on its knees with serious bruises from the ongoing genocidal campaign that they are leading in the southern Cameroons. And now, with that one adding on it, it already made life very complicated. I'm assuring you that it got to a position where when I show you this document, or I share this document with you here and explain this to you, you will understand the importance of an economic blockade. And I've been informed that among the tools Issa Tchiroma Bakari intends to use to choke the Biya government is economic blockade. That they are planning to use the economic tool so seriously. And so when they finally come to applying the economic tool in conjunction, in collaboration, in partnership with what is already going on in the southern Cameroons, the Biya system will no longer be able to survive 4 months. I assure you, they will not be able to survive 4 months. Now, if you think that this is a joke, take a look at this. This document is written by the Minister of Finance of the Republic of Cameroon, Louis-Paul Motaze. And this letter is addressed to the Director General or the Administrator of the Road Fund. That is called Fonds d'Entretien Routier. That's the Road Maintenance Fund. But it's just called for short the Road Fund. Now, money gets into the road fund from toll gates. You understand what I'm saying? When you pay toll gates, you stop at all of those toll gates, you pay money and all whatnot, that money goes to the road fund. The road fund is supposed to deploy these resources in financing the rehabilitation, the maintenance, and even the construction of road networks in the country. But right now, the Ministry of Finance is already cash-strapped. The Ministry of Finance is already finding it difficult to pay salaries of civil servants. This is what you read in this document. And this document is issued on the 17th of November, 2025. 17th of November. That tells you how precarious the economy of the country is, how precarious the finances of that country is. This tells you that Cameroon is actually living, like they describe in family circles, hand to mouth. Let's take a quick look at this document. It says suspension des débits d'office des mois de novembre et décembre 2025 au profit du compte fonds entretien routier. What is this document saying? Because normally, when money is collected from all the toll gates, it's collected and put in the government treasury. And when this money gets into the government treasury, what happens is automatically the amounts, when they put in and indicate that budget head where this money is saved is road fund, is toll gate revenue, the money goes straight. The money is automatically transferred into the accounts of the road maintenance fund, into the account of the road fund. And so Louis-Paul Motaze, in the subject matter of this mail, is saying he is suspending the automatic transfer of resources from the government treasury into the road fund, into the road maintenance fund for the months of November and December. And he goes ahead to explain. It says, Monsieur l'administrateur, afin de permettre au trésor public d'honorer les dépenses prioritaires au cours des mois de novembre et décembre 2025, notamment le règlement des salaires et pensions et une partie du service de la dette extérieure, dont les arriérés à date s'élèvent à 145 milliards. What is he saying? So he's saying, Mr. Administrator, to enable the public treasury, this is what he's saying. Louis-Paul Motaze in this correspondence is saying, Mr. Administrator, to enable the public treasury to go ahead and be able to pay salaries to civil servants and also to service some part of the external debt, which to date is already in arrears, that we're already owing. The government is already owing installments that ought already to have been paid of the external debts to the tune of 145 billion. That's why they are suspending, in order to pay salaries and to service the external debts for the months of November and December. Mark you, this election happened in October. These few days of blockade, it wasn't up to a week. These few days of economic blockade just a few days in October and early November have already generated this effect. The government coffers are already empty. Already empty. And so they now need to make recourse to the resources generated from toll gates meant to be transferred to the road fund. They have to divert this money in order to pay salaries. This tells you that the government treasurer, the treasurer of the government of Cameroon, is already on life support. Now you understand why we are militantly throwing some degree of support behind Issa Tchiroma Bakari and his campaign, because we need them to, on the other side, get into partnership with us, that they choke this administration, choke the Bia government, choke them economically, and cause them to collapse of their own volition. Because as soon as they are not going to be able to pay salaries for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, public servants can no longer hold it. Because, by the way, how much do they earn? Inflation is at an all-time high. The economic indicators are not at their best. And so, therefore, any serious economic blockade taken by Issa Tchiroma Bakari, in conjunction with what is already going on in the southern Cameroons, will make an already bad situation really worse, and the collapse will be hastened. I mean, seriously hastened. Hear what he says again in that correspondence. He says, j'ai exceptionnellement instruit la Direction nationale de la Banque des États de l'Afrique centrale de procéder à la suspension des débits d'offres au profit du compte Fonds entretien routier au cours des mois de novembre et décembre 2025. Toutefois, ces ressources seront remboursées dès l'encaissement du prêt en cours de négociation auprès de Afri-Exim Bank. Did you hear this? Did you hear this? This is another heresy. He's collecting this money. They are collecting this money directly from the Bank of Central African States, that of course receives those funds and then transfers to the National Road Maintenance Fund. Now they're collecting this money with the view that they will repay the money when they succeed obtaining another loan from the Afri-Exim Bank, because there are negotiations ongoing to obtain a loan from the Afri-Exim Bank. Now, even that loan that they are hoping to obtain from the Afri-Exim Bank may not go through if they see serious civil disobedience, civil disorder, economic blockade, economic activities grinding to a halt in the country. Afri-Exim Bank will tell themselves that the likelihood that these people fail on servicing this debt is very high. They become extremely risky creditors, or extremely risky partners, debtors. So giving them this money, one of two things could happen. One, if the situation really gets that bad, Afri-Exim Bank may decide altogether to terminate these negotiations and not go ahead and disburse money to the government of Cameroon. Or, secondly, they may raise the interest rate to choking levels because of the risk involved in giving this money in a situation of political turmoil. I hope that those who are operating by Issa Tchiroma Bakari are taking note of this. I hope that those who are advising Issa Tchiroma Bakari are taking note of this development, because this is a very important development. This is a very important development that should sharpen the strategy being put in place. That should teach them that economic blockade, ghost towns will help. Because some people have been screaming there that, oh, just ghost towns and no lockdowns may not really help. I brought this up in response to that argument. Listen, while some people think that it is simply an armed insurrection immediately that will help collapse the Biya regime, I have news for you. That even this economic blockade will make it extremely difficult for them and will make the people to then get to that level where they are forced to rise in their numbers and tell the system you will go. At that point, the system, as erratic as it is, will want to defend itself with arms. And that is when whatever you are thinking could happen will happen. This is exactly as it goes. So as it stands now, you can see for yourself that the government of Cameroon, I have said this on this platform several times, and some people said, oh no, Mr. Kuro, you keep saying this, that the government is having difficulties, they are facing challenges, yet they are not collapsing. I always talk with information that I get from internal sources at the Ministry of Finance in Cameroon. Because generally at this point, if you like, go to regional treasuries, find out how many businessmen successfully get their payments go through when they're supposed to be programmed. They have a lot in terms of backlog of payments. And that is why the economy is not turning the way it ought to turn. And that's why with an incident that took just a few days, money was not entering at the seaport. All those big trucks, they pay a lot of taxes, transporting those goods and all of those things. Just those few days, things are not moving. Look at the effect right now. So this tells you, if Issa Tchiroma Bakari and his team can sustain a 2-month lockdown, goes down 2 months. I had heard some people already propose Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they have just Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the people to resource, for the people to, to get back fresh supplies and go back home. 2 to 3 months will be enough to put this system down, bury them where they ought to be. And it is important, especially at this time, when they are still locked in negotiations with the Afri-Exim Bank. So, time wasting on the side of the Issa Tchiroma Bakari campaign is not going to help the situation. Giving a measure today and then waiting, because after perhaps the lockdown of this Friday and the national mourning, what is the next step? Would they have to wait 2 more weeks before Issa Tchiroma Bakari and his team comes again to say, now we are going to do this? No, they ought to roll out this thing immediately and say, okay, as we are doing the mourning and this lockdown, from next week, this is the course of action. This is how we are going. So when they do this, they accompany it at the same time with diplomatic outreach, getting out to these international finance institutions with the clout that they have, causing them to understand that it is risky to give any money to a sinking system because they will not pay back. And when a new government comes in, they will not take responsibility for those money. They will not pay it. So they should think and think doubly before taking such measures. This will be choking approaches that will make it very complicated for the BR system to operate. So I guess you have taken note of this document, and I mean, it says what it is saying. It is very clear, and then it speaks for itself. I'm about to round off. But before I round off, there's this issue that I've talked about over and over. There is this young police constable of Southern Cameroon's extraction who was serving in Gaoundé, who right now is still under detention, under conditions no one knows. No one even knows exactly where he is detained. His only crime was that he congratulated Issa Tchiroma Bakari on his election win. That was enough for him to be identified, smoked out, captured, and disappeared. And the chief charge that they gave was that as a police officer, that as a policeman, he ought to be apolitical. He did not have to take sides in whatsoever. He ought to, exercise restraint, even with his opinions. But at the same time, there is this gentleman. This gentleman you see in this picture here, this is a police superintendent. He is Bulu Ekam Betty. He is Bulu Ekam Betty. This gentleman you see here, this is a police superintendent. That is him standing there in front of his house in his official uniform. This gentleman, look at his next picture. This is him here in CPDM regalia. CPDM regalia, that's the same building, CPDM regalia. This picture is taken on the 7th of November 2025. This gentleman is quietly in Yaoundé, working and doing his activities normally. Nobody has asked him anything. Nothing. Is it because the police constable is of Southern Cameroon's extraction? Is it because he is from that area where people say they are subhumans? When people say that, we are 3/4 of citizens who don't have rights, that's why nobody is caring. And what is even embarrassing to me is that his colleagues are mute there, simply telling themselves it was not me. They came for him this time. The next time they will find reason to come for you. And another time they will find reason to come for the next person and the next person and the next person. It's shocking that his colleagues are quiet, that his colleagues are saying nothing, that his colleagues have not come out to protest, that they need this gentleman to be released. This is a blatant injustice. I keep saying this, and it helps me to remind our brothers and sisters serving in the armed forces of the Republic of Cameroon. You see, they celebrate you when you have the descent on your own people, but they crush you when you make the least mistake. And then at the end of the day, they sit down, they laugh at you, they mock at you, they deride you for being so stupid and senseless that you so easily accept to go descend on your own people. They can't do this for their own people, and that is the evidence right there. So folks, thank you again for your very kind attention. I will encourage you to subscribe to this channel if you are not yet subscribed, and make sure you hit the personalization button so that anytime anything drops here, you will be the first to know. And then as much as possible, share the link, and encourage other people to subscribe. Let's continue to spread the truth. Let's continue to share facts. Let's continue to share knowledge. Let's continue to mobilize and sensitize our people so that we continue to stand strong to resist until we get to where we intend to get to. Thank you once more for your very kind attention. I leave you once more in the company of my good friend DJ Liga.
The dawn that's breaking, the hope reborn. This is not defeat, it's a gentler moon. Tchiroma, oh, Tchiroma, you carry our dream. A beacon shining where hope has been. From the mountains to the shore, the people stand ready to rebuild this blessed land.
Tchiroma, oh, Tchiroma, we believe, to come home.
Tchiroma, oh, Tchiroma, you carry our dream.
Tchiroma,
a beacon shining and where hope has been. From the mountains to the shore, the people stand ready to rebuild this blessed land.
Tchiroma, oh, Tchiroma, light the way home for every child of Cameroon.